Salt Lake City, Utah, nestled against the towering Wasatch Mountains, is often described as a peaceful city where life unfolds in a tranquil rhythm. But in the summer of 2004, the city was rocked by a chilling crime that shattered its sense of safety. It was a story of betrayal, deception, and an unfathomable act of violence that would leave scars on all who knew the couple involved. Lori Hacking, a vibrant and ambitious young woman, had been murdered by her husband, Mark Douglas Hacking, a man she trusted more than anyone. Behind the veneer of their seemingly idyllic life was a dark web of lies that spiraled out of control, culminating in one of the most heart-wrenching true crime cases in Utah's history. Mark and Lori Hacking met as teenagers in Utah, their connection immediate and intense. Lori, with her warm smile and boundless kindness, radiated positivity. She was known for her genuine care for others, an enduring work ethic, and an infectious laugh. Mark, in contrast, was charismatic, but carried an undercurrent of insecurity masked by humor and charm. The couple seemed inseparable, building a relationship that evolved into marriage in 1999. Lori was dedicated to supporting her husband in his aspirations. Mark claimed he was pursuing a career in medicine, a goal that Lori supported wholeheartedly. She worked long hours at Wells Fargo Bank, often taking on additional shifts to help fund Mark's education and the life they envisioned together. But what Lori didn't know was that Mark's academic journey was a facade. Behind closed doors, Mark was hiding a troubling secret that would ultimately lead to Lori's death. By July 2004, Lori had every reason to feel optimistic about the future. She had recently discovered she was pregnant, a joyful milestone that she and Mark had long anticipated. They had plans to move to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where Mark claimed he had been accepted into medical school at the University of North Carolina. The couple was on the brink of a new chapter, or so Lori believed. Unbeknownst to Lori, the life she thought she was building with Mark was built on lies. Mark had been deceiving everyone for years. He wasn't attending medical school, in fact. He hadn't even graduated from the University of Utah. For over 2 years, he had pretended to be a diligent student while fabricating an elaborate ruse about his academic success. Mark's lies were beginning to catch up with him, and Lori was starting to uncover the truth. In the days leading up to her disappearance, Lori had confronted Mark about inconsistencies in his stories, shaking the foundation of their relationship. On July 19, 2004, Mark Hacking made a frantic 911 call, reporting that Lori had gone jogging early that morning at Memory Grove Park and had not returned. He told the operator that her car was parked at the trailhead, but there was no sign of her. The call triggered an outpouring of support. Friends, family, and volunteers mobilized to search for Lori, scouring the park and surrounding areas. The search effort quickly became a community-wide endeavor, with hundreds of people distributing flyers and organizing search parties. Mark appeared distraught, sobbing as he spoke to the media and pleading for his wife's safe return. He clutched a framed photo of Lori during interviews, projecting the image of a heartbroken husband. But even as search efforts intensified, something about Mark's behavior raised questions. Within days of Lori's disappearance, shocking revelations about Mark began to surface. A phone call to the University of North Carolina revealed that Mark had never been accepted into their medical program. In fact, he had never even applied. Investigators delved deeper into his past and discovered an astonishing pattern of deceit. Mark had not attended classes at the University of Utah for more than 2 years, despite claiming to be a full-time student. He had lied to Lori, his family, and his friends about graduating and being accepted into medical school, constructing an intricate web of falsehoods to maintain his facade as soft. Lori's family was devastated. They had trusted Mark implicitly, believing him to be a loving and supportive husband. But as these revelations came to light, suspicions about Mark's involvement in Lori's disappearance grew. Mark's behavior in the days following Lori's disappearance only added to the growing unease. On July 23rd, just 4 days after he reported Lori missing, Mark was found wandering the streets near a motel in his underwear, clutching a Bible. He was incoherent and disoriented, prompting authorities to place him in a psychiatric ward for evaluation. While Mark was in the hospital, detectives began piecing together a timeline of events. Surveillance footage from a local store revealed that Mark had purchased a new mattress the morning Lori went missing. When investigators searched the hacking apartment, they noticed the absence of the couple's original mattress, along with bloodstains on the bed frame and nearby walls. These findings pointed to a chilling conclusion: Lori had not disappeared during her jog. The crime had occurred in the hacking home, and Mark had staged her disappearance to divert suspicion. On August 2, 2004, Mark Hacking confessed to the murder of his wife. In a moment of rage, fueled by the unraveling of his lies, he had killed Lori as she slept in their apartment. He shot her in the head, wrapped her body in garbage bags, and disposed of her remains in a dumpster. In the early hours of July 19, while search parties combed the park for Lori, Mark was meticulously covering his tracks. He discarded the bloody mattress in a nearby dumpster and planted Lori's belongings at Memory Grove Park to support his fabricated story. Mark's confession was devastating, but it provided crucial answers for Lori's grieving family. The search for her body shifted to a landfill, where investigators sifted through tons of garbage in a painstaking effort to recover her remains. The discovery of Lori's body marked the end of a harrowing ordeal for her family and friends. Her remains were badly decomposed, a stark reminder of the brutal reality of her murder. The community of Salt Lake City was left reeling. Lori had been a beacon of kindness and positivity, and her murder struck a deep chord. Vigils were held in her honor, with friends and strangers alike mourning the loss of a life cut short by senseless violence. Mark's betrayal went beyond his lies about his education. It was a betrayal of trust, love, and the sacred bond of marriage. Mark Hacking was charged with first-degree murder, and his trial began in April 2005. The evidence against him was overwhelming, from his confession to the forensic evidence uncovered in the apartment. Lori's family provided emotional testimonies during the trial, describing the profound loss they felt. Her father, Geraldo Soares, spoke of the unbearable pain of losing a daughter and an unborn grandchild, while her friends recounted Lori's unwavering kindness and generosity. Mark pleaded guilty to the charges, avoiding a prolonged trial. In June 2005, he was sentenced to 6 years to life in prison, the maximum penalty under Utah law at the time. The sentence brought some measure of closure, but for many it felt inadequate given the magnitude of his crime. Mark Hacking's actions have been analyzed extensively, with psychologists and criminologists attempting to understand the mindset that led him to murder. His pattern of deceit suggests a deep-seated fear of failure and rejection. Mark's lies about his education were likely rooted in feelings of inadequacy. Rather than admit his struggles, he constructed an elaborate fantasy life. When Lori discovered the truth and threatened to leave him, Mark's carefully curated world began to crumble. His decision to kill Lori was an act of desperation, a twisted attempt to preserve the illusion he had worked so hard to maintain. But Mark's actions after the murder reveal a chilling capacity for manipulation. His ability to stage Lori's disappearance and feign grief underscores the cold calculation behind his crime. Lori's death left an indelible mark on those who knew her. Her family established the Lori K. Hacking Memorial Scholarship to honor her memory, supporting students in their pursuit of higher education, a cause Lori had deeply valued. For her loved ones, the pain of losing Lori is a wound that will never fully heal. Her story serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that can lurk behind a trusted face. Long before Lori's tragic death, Mark Hacking's pattern of lying was firmly entrenched. His fabrications about academic achievements were not isolated incidents, but part of a broader behavioral pattern. Even during high school, Mark was known to exaggerate his accomplishments, spinning tales to boost his self-esteem. These lies initially seemed harmless, typical of a teenager seeking approval. However, as Mark entered adulthood, his deceptions grew in scope and consequence. At the University of Utah, Mark struggled academically. He frequently skipped classes, failed exams, and lacked the motivation to follow through with his studies. Instead of confronting these failures, Mark chose the easier path: lying. He pretended to graduate, claiming to have earned a bachelor's degree that he never actually completed. Lori, trusting and supportive, had no reason to doubt him. She believed in Mark's ambitions and his commitment to their shared future. Friends later described Lori as deeply devoted to her husband, willing to work tirelessly to ensure his success. It was this unwavering faith in Mark that made his betrayal all the more devastating. The pivotal moment that led to Lori's murder likely occurred on the evening of July 18, 2004. Lori had recently uncovered inconsistencies in Mark's stories about medical school. It is believed she confronted him that night, demanding answers about his acceptance to the University of North Carolina. The argument that ensued was explosive. Lori's discovery was a direct threat to Mark's carefully constructed facade. For years, he had managed to deceive everyone around him, but now the walls were closing in. Lori's pregnancy, which should have been a source of joy, may have added to Mark's growing sense of panic. The responsibility of impending fatherhood, combined with the unraveling of his lies, pushed him over the edge. Rather than face the consequences of his deception, Mark chose to silence Lori permanently. Details of the murder itself remain chilling. In his confession, Mark admitted to killing Lori while she slept in their apartment. The act was premeditated. He retrieved a .22 caliber rifle, aimed it at his sleeping wife, and pulled the trigger. The brutality of this act is difficult to comprehend. Lori, completely unaware of the danger she was in, was killed by the man she loved and trusted most. Mark's ability to carry out such a heinous act speaks to a level of cold detachment that is deeply unsettling. After the murder, Mark's actions became calculated and methodical. He wrapped Lori's body in garbage bags, concealing her lifeless form as if she were nothing more than trash. In the early hours of the morning, while the city slept, Mark drove to a nearby dumpster and disposed of Lori's remains. In the days following Lori's disappearance, Mark carefully crafted a narrative to deflect suspicion. He planted her belongings, shoes, water bottle, and keys at Memory Grove Park, creating the illusion that she had gone jogging. He then called 911, feigning panic and concern as he reported her missing. Mark's performance was convincing. He wept during interviews, clinging to a framed photo of Lori as he pleaded for her safe return. His apparent grief elicited sympathy from friends, family, and the broader community. But beneath the surface, cracks in his story began to emerge. Investigators quickly noted inconsistencies in Mark's account. Witnesses reported seeing him purchase a new mattress just hours after Lori's disappearance, raising questions about what had happened to the original mattress. A search of the couple's apartment revealed bloodstains, further undermining Mark's version of events. While Mark continued to play the role of the grieving husband, authorities launched an intensive search for Lori. The investigation eventually led to the Salt Lake County landfill, where Mark admitted he had discarded her body. The search for Lori's remains was a Herculean task. Detectives and volunteers sifted through thousands of tons of garbage, enduring the stench and heat in the hope of finding any trace of Lori. After weeks of painstaking effort, they made a grim discovery: Lori's decomposed remains, wrapped in plastic, buried beneath layers of refuse. The recovery of Lori's body provided critical evidence in the case against Mark. It also brought a measure of closure to her grieving family, who had endured weeks of uncertainty and anguish. The impact of Lori's murder on her family was profound. Her parents, Thelma and Araldo Soares, were devastated by the loss of their daughter and unborn grandchild. They struggled to reconcile the image of Mark as a loving husband with the reality of his monstrous actions. Lori's brothers and sisters also grappled with overwhelming grief. In interviews, they described Lori as the glue that held their family together, a source of light and love whose absence was deeply felt. The betrayal they experienced at the hands of Mark, someone they had trusted implicitly, added another layer of pain to their loss. What drove Mark Hacking to commit such an unthinkable crime? Experts have analyzed his behavior, offering insights into the psychological factors that may have contributed to his actions. Mark's lies suggest a deep-seated fear of failure and a desperate need for validation. By constructing an image of success, he was able to mask his insecurities and maintain the admiration of those around him. However, as his lies unraveled, Mark faced the prospect of losing everything: his wife, his reputation, and his carefully curated identity. In a moment of desperation, Mark chose violence as a means of preserving his illusion. Killing Lori allowed him, in his twisted logic, to eliminate the immediate threat to his facade. The murder of Lori Hacking sent shockwaves through Salt Lake City and beyond. It highlighted the dangers of unchecked deceit and the devastating consequences of betrayal. Lori's story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the importance of transparency and trust in relationships. For those who knew Lori, her memory endures as a source of inspiration. The scholarship established in her name has helped countless students achieve their dreams, ensuring that Lori's legacy lives on in the lives she continues to touch. The murder of Lori Hacking is a haunting tale of betrayal, deceit, and the devastating consequences of unchecked lies. It is a story that continues to resonate, serving as both a warning and a tribute to a life cut tragically short. For Salt Lake City, the memory of Lori endures a reminder of the fragility of trust and the enduring strength of those who loved her. Her story, though marked by tragedy, remains a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of love.